Recently, I have found myself with an abundance of time on my hands to be alone with my thoughts. In an attempt to escape from that hell, I have decided to make a series of videos sharing my thoughts on certain subjects. I thank you for indulging me. Now, the question that I'm posing today is a question that is near to my heart, and is, I suppose, the inspiration for these videos in the first place. And that is, why do your parents hate video games? Even as video games become more and more advanced, mainstream, and popular in today's society, many people still find their parents' opinion of you playing video games akin to watching paint dry, or shouting expletives at a nearby window, or going on a 3-day heroin binge. Alright, maybe that one's too strong. The point is they consider it a waste of your time. This is something that I know from experience. Even now, when I get the chance to talk to my mother, I can still feel her feigning interest in the topic whenever it emerges. So why? From what I have deduced, it is simply because they've never tried it. And this is because it's not something that they have any experience with. You have grown up with video games. They have been with you at every stage of your life, and have shared all kinds of stories, taken you to places you never thought possible, and accompanied you on your 3-day heroin binge. Wait, and yet they don't seem to understand it. But it has brought me so much joy. I couldn't be wrong, could I? The way I see it, parents need to be eased into video games. Years ago, I made the mistake of attempting to get my mother to play a game with me. The game in question was Halo 3, a popular title at the time, and one that my friends and I were rather proficient in. What transpired was like watching a poor old man with polio attempt to fight Mike Tyson in his prime. Less than 15 minutes of her attempting to make sense of the fact that one stick moves and one stick looks around before giving up as her character remained transfixed on the sky. Now, before we go any further, I think we should take a minute to categorize video games into two different categories for the sake of this argument. That would be games that revolve around narrative, like Mass Effect, Gone Home, or new titles by the developer Telltale Games, and the second are games that focus almost solely on good gameplay, like Mega Man X, Mario 64, or Bubsy 3D. Bubsy? Wait a minute, let me see here. We got Mario, we got Mega Man, well, whatever. There are, of course, a few games which transcend this divide and contain a worthwhile story and even passably fun gameplay and receive critical acclaim because of it. Those are games like The Last of Us, Wolfenstein: The New Order, the Half-Life series, and Spec Ops: The Line, a game which has recently been put into my list of all-time favorites. But for right now, let's focus on these two types. Now, gameplay games are generally confusing for first-timers, games that are challenging and that demand something from the player. It would be like giving them a pair of stilts and a protractor and telling them to have fun, only for them to find out that they're taking part in a badger race. What the hell is the protractor for? You don't give it a second thought, because this badger race is something that you have been unconsciously training for your entire life. Narrative games, on the other hand, are something to be experienced, and are much easier to get into for first-timers, while still being intriguing and engaging. Now, due to a view overzealous politicians and the recent unfortunate shenanigans of two warring factions on the internet, your parents cannot be faulted for developing the misconception that the gameplay side of video games, while fun and interesting, is all that they have to offer. That video games somehow cater only to people's baser desires for violence. That games are all of this, and none of this. While we all know that this is not the case, the burden of proof is on us to show people the error in that judgment. So, children, or teenagers, or anyone, when asking your parents to join you for a game, try the narrative side first. While Call of Duty Advanced Warfare may be the most chaotically fun title in your library at the moment, and rightly so, try the Stanley Parable first. Show them what this medium can be. If that still does not work, fuck it. You'll just have to do what I did and settle for being a bit of a disappointment.